Welcome everybody, welcome to the Tomb of Illumination. Welcome to my little mini series on Osirius and how it relates to the flat earth system and how it connects with mythological stories, ancient Egypt and etc. I had a bit of a problem with my computer, so I lost track of what videos I'd done, and accidentally wiped the whole video I did on Osiris. So now here I am doing it again. So now I'm going to have to go and change all the numbers of the sequence of the videos again. But this one was just about Osiris, because no one really understands the Osiris, legend, myth, or whatever. So I'm going to tell you what it is. So it's related to all this, it's connected because it's connected with the Milky Way, you see. So in one realise all these mythological stories have like three sort of versions to them, or at least two anyway. So there's one sort of aspect and then they go on and use it in some other frame of reference, you know. So so the one I'll talk about is the one where Osiris is the Milky Way. So imagine Osiris is the Milky Way, but also he's the phasing of the moon. So how would you put it? Like maybe he's more related to the cycles of time. Osiris, the cycles of time, meaning, like, you know, this centre tropical region is your iris, so that's Osiris. So everything that's sort of happening around here, you could relate it to Osiris, and that's to do with the alignments of the Milky Way and everything I put in the previous videos. So the story goes, Seth and Osiris are having a battle. They're rivals, right? Because one end of the Milky Way, we'll talk about the northern hemisphere, one end of the Milky Way is tucked in the centre here, which is black. It's the pupil, right? And this is what they're calling Egypt in this version, because Egypt is Kemet, and Kemet's a dark place. Nothing to do with the black soil, these mythological stories. That's just common man's version, you know, down here, not up there. So one end's back there at Egypt and the other end comes out here. So we have which one's Seth? Seth could be that one? Yes, Seth could be that one, and Osiris is out here moving around. At one stage it says moving around a barren place or heated place, one of the two. So it keeps flipping. They keep swapping places, I think, in these myths. But if you know the whole story, you know what they're on about. And maybe it's specifically told that way so you don't understand it, I don't know. Anyway, so you got one character here and one character out here at the other end. So then you go back to your banana, if you saw my earlier videos. So you got Seth here and Osiris back here. And they're rivals, and he's jealous because Seth is Osiris is out here in a lovely tropical region, while the other guy's stuck back there in some barren place. But then there's a switch, so that's the nice place, and this is the barren place. So I don't know. And so what happens is, so Sirius, which is connected to the star Sirius, goes out of the divine season. Goes away, but when he comes back, Seth is happy to see his brother, because they were brothers apparently, and so Seth is happy to see Osiris, so he puts on a big banquet or something, big party, and everyone turns up. 72 of his cohorts. I haven't got figured out the 72. I know it's 6 times 12, so I don't know. They turn up at the party, they're at the party, and Seth has made Osiris this big, well, he's made this like a coffin, And it's like the Cinderella story, the slip, it has to fit the perfect foot. So this coffin has to fit the perfect thing. I'll say it's not exactly a person, is it? And everyone tried it, either too big, too fat, too whatever. They didn't quite fit it. So the coffin is referring to the Milky Way, because the Milky Way sweeps over and catches the moon, right? And it also sweeps over, I haven't mentioned earlier, that sweeps over and catches a star, a particular star. It's that star that gets illuminated and replaces the sun. That's going deep, that's going back to solar eclipses and all that. And it's an illuminated man on earth. That's why you come about with, go back to there. Oh, yeah, well, I've got back there. Horus, he's the ultimate enlightenment. He's from heaven, attached to heaven and earth. He's got a connection. Anyway, so the coffin's the Milky Way, right? And what fits in it perfectly? So it's more or less saying you've got to have that perfect alignment between these two Milky Ways, the northern and southern hemisphere. So something has to fit perfectly. So when it comes, apart from that, when it sweeps over the moon or the star, it has to slip in there perfectly at your alignment, which is when things are vertically on your zenith, when the Milky Way is directly overhead in this divine season. So nobody fitted except Osiris. And Osiris says, yeah, okay. So he gets to own this coffin or whatever. He says, yeah, okay, it's mine, I fit. And so they rushed in, and while he's in there, shut the lid and lead soldered it, whatever, shut, sealed it, couldn't get out. And then sent it down the river, sent it down the Nile. So, which is basically the Milky Way's caught the moon or the star, and then starts sailing away, because once it goes out of your horizon, it starts going down to the west, right? And that's what happened. It floated down the Nile to the west side. The west side is death, because this is the end of this divine season when it goes to the west. And then goes into the tree, some particular tree. And that tree, you have to then, it's going to be hard for you guys, but it's connected back to the tree of life from the centre of the earth. Because one end of the Milky Way is back there, right? So he's back there, and so he goes missing into the black hole, you could say. And then Isis goes looking for him. And somewhere along the line, well, that comes next in the story, she finds him, but he's all in pieces. He's all in pieces. So now you got to think of the moon, the phasing of the moon. So he's in 14 pieces. So he's gone from full moon back up to new moon, which is, he starts dissolving into 14 pieces. So he's scattered around the flipping earth or something or other. They say the fields. So she finds him and puts him back together. Starts putting him back together. So he's gone right round. He starts coming back into the full moon. So he gets back together. He comes into the Milky Way alignment, and that's when they're in there long enough. Isis is in there long enough. She's created him long enough to give birth. So when they're together, that's when they give birth, spiritual birth. And from that birth, they have the divine son called Horus. That's the perfect alignment. So Horus is this illuminated star, and he's the illuminated man on earth, and that's how he came about being created. There's a lot more details in that story. I should get it on paper so I can read it and then go through the whole thing with you guys, but anyway, I haven't got it on me right at the minute. But that's the story. No one would have heard it like that before. Because the tricky thing is the way they change the names and what it's referring to. So when you think of Osiris being the moon phasing and what's going on in here, you've just got to treat it as this zone here. It's all about this zone. Iris. Iris Osiris. I've always known this, but never really made the proper connections. I just made, oh, there's another thing. Years ago, I figured out, you know, the ecliptic plane, this is down and out and goes up and in. Down and out, up and in. So there's something I knew that when it came up, something is lost under here. And it turns out that's the way it is. It does work like that. So when the ecliptic plane goes up like this, because this is down and out, all the way around, like a jellyfish. So all the way around. You've got the Milky Way season. Okay? So when it starts coming up like this, the Milky Way's on top of the ecliptic plane, isn't it? Because it's at the top. The ecliptic planes are across the top of the black hole, basically in here. But the Milky Way's up top here. So when it's down and out, it starts coming up for the winter season, like in the southern hemisphere. It starts coming up for the winter season. Well, as it starts coming up, you start losing the Milky Way, because now the Milky Way is shot right round and it's way over in the west. It's cooled right down on the western horizon already. You don't see it coming up in the west and passing over your night sky at night anymore. It's basically gone right down behind here. Well, we're losing sight of it. And that's because the ecliptic plane has gone up like this. Well, it hasn't brought it with it. So yeah, so the ecliptic plane's come like that. Maybe left the Milky Way behind. It's something to do with that anyway. It's lost under here. Down in the Mentes for now, or whatever. Down into Hades. Yeah. So, and then you see in the Sumerian hieroglyphs or whatever, reliefs, is that the king, what's his face? He's got the lion tucked under here. So maybe that's some sort of symbol representing what can be tucked under the arm, lost under the arm. But you know, the lion that's involved with it it's in the divine season, because it's Leo, and that's in that divine season. So I'll look into that. But anyway, that was the story of Osiris. Okay. So you have to understand the whole flat earth to understand all the mythological stories, even your science, all your physics. If you don't understand this model, none of it will make sense. But once you get that shape in your head, understand this model, everything makes sense. Understanding like it's a magnetic field, like a magnet, understanding the flux, that we live inside that flux, and we're inside that pressure. That's why you can't pull yourself away from the magnet. There's no flipping gravity, it's just the magnetic field. And the opposite is you go down and you try and dive into the water, and the water's pushing you back up to the earth, isn't it? Down, pushing you back up. You try and get out of there, you're going to bounce off it. Okay, so you're trying to get up and you're falling back. You're trying to dive below water, you start getting pushed back, because Earth is the plane of inertia between the two fields. Okay, that's what it is. Thumbs up, share. Thanks guys.